Welcome back, Dancing with the Stars fans, to Ballroom Breakdown Week 7. I'm Meghan McPherson.
And I'm Dana Searles. We are so excited to be back here for Week 7. I cannot believe it has been 7 weeks of Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, we're halfway through the season.
Absolutely, and I can say that nothing has disappointed. This week was Halloween night, because obviously Halloween's on Friday, so every single year they do this theme for Halloween night, and this is one of the most highly anticipated nights because I feel like the pros are really able to get very creative with their dances. They have really funky costumes, they tell a lot of stories.
Like a whole production.
Yeah, an entire production. So this is an episode that I always look forward to a ton, and this week I have a lot of thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
I was a little bit disappointed with this week's Halloween episode. However, still amazing. Everybody's so amazing. So there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, not as many standout dances this week in comparison to some of the past weeks where we've had multiple favorites, and we'll of course get into that in a little bit. But nonetheless, there's still, like you said, a lot to talk about. Even if we're not always wowed, we'll always, that's one thing, every single week we will have our thoughts. So speaking of that, let's get into the dances. We want to have enough time to be able to chat about every single couple this week. So Danny, you take it away with the first couple of the night.
All right, so the first couple of the night was Whitney and Mark. So now you guys are just going to be spooked out by all these dances. They all had freaky eyeballs on, freaky costumes on, did these freaky moves. So I don't even know what kind of style dance this was. I think it was a jazz maybe.
Yes, a jazz.
And so Whitney has really come out shining every single week. And I think she did an amazing job. I think she always brings the energy. She always has an amazing performance factor, and her facial expressions are second to none, you know, out of everybody. But something about this dance, I just was a little bit confused that it was the first dance of the night. I think it was amazing, but I just was a little bit confused by it. I didn't really understand the story. I think they looked creepy and looked weird, but she's done better. That dance was still amazing, but it was forgettable. And I've seen her dances in the past, and I feel like week by week we are like, oh, Whitney and Mark, always one of the best dances of the night. That one just kind of blended in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't really know what the theme was either. I just wrote that it was creepy.
Yeah.
Their costumes were creepy. It almost kind of looked to me like maybe they were in a mental hospital or something.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure. Yeah, a little bit of a weird choice. But I said that it's not my favorite dance from them, not my least favorite dance of the night by any means, just not my favorite dance of theirs so far this season. It was clean, they had good technique, but we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that Whitney was off in her timing. She was out of sync with Mark, and not throughout the entire dance, but through some parts of it. And this is something that she was critiqued for during her, I think, her dedication night. And then also this week, that was something that the judges mentioned. And I do think that it should have reflected a little more in her scores. But I mean, it didn't mess up the whole dance. I just felt like they were a little bit out of sync in some moments. And I do think that there are other couples that really nail that timing. So I think that's her biggest weakness in this competition, because people look at Whitney with a very critical eye because they know that she's very talented. Mark's always going to give her good choreography. Everybody's trying to find something wrong with her dances.
Yeah, so people expect a lot more from Whitney, and I think us included. So that's why I think this one is
when you have a dance background, you need to be held to a higher standard.
100%, 100%. And she got a 10, so she got 3 9s and a 10 from Bruno.
Yeah.
I was shocked by the 10. I don't know where the 10 came from. That was not perfection in my eyes. I think the 9s were fair. I think they were pretty fair.
Yes, I would have given it all 9s.
I'd be fine with all 9s. 10, don't agree with.
Agree. I wrote that. I did not think, in my notes, I did not think that the 10 was justified. Because I think about how the judges would score other couples, and I think if they made the same mistake that Whitney made, then they would not get a 10. So we have to talk about that there is some favoritism going on, I think.
100%. And Whitney is one of the favorites.
Social media thinks so too. You'll look on, there are a lot of people who are not very big fans of Whitney, and I think that Dancing with the Stars fans, a lot of them always have something against the celebrities that come in with dance backgrounds, and
us included.
Yes,
we can get in the pack. I can at least.
Right, absolutely. And I just feel that the judges are pretty biased towards her. Even when she makes mistakes, they kind of glaze over them and still give her very positive feedback, whereas I feel that other pairings get more negative feedback even when they felt like they did a good dance. So I don't know. I can't prove it, obviously, but I know that a lot of the fan base is feeling this favoritism, and I'm not a fan of it.
And we got to talk about how Whitney was in the bottom 3. So she didn't go home, but Whitney was in the bottom 3, which I think we're starting to see the fan base maybe not rally around her as much as they did in the past, because I feel like at the beginning they were like, oh my God, she's so amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's so much fun to watch. I think she was getting a lot of votes, and now I think the cracks are starting to show, because I think people are kind of getting annoyed that which is so not fair. People are annoyed that she is so good.
Yes.
Which is not fair to her. Like, let her live. But I do think, unfortunately, since she has the background and since she's so good, I don't think it's working to her advantage.
No, I agree. I think that her being in the bottom 3, that was the fans sending them a message that they're not thrilled with the favoritism that they appear to be getting. And I think that was also a message to the judges to be a little bit harder on, because I think that that was really the votes. There's a lot of people that I've seen on social media saying, I'm not giving Whitney and Mark any of my votes. So I wouldn't put us in that category.
I gave her a few votes.
Yeah, I still gave her a few votes. I think that she is a talented dancer. I enjoy watching her dances, but she is going to be, again, judged and critiqued with a little bit more of a critical eye from everybody, ourselves included, because she has that experience. So
totally.
Yeah, I think they came in total in the entire night second on the leaderboard.
Yep.
So let's move on to the next couple, Jordan and Ezra, one of our favorites. This was a contemporary to the song Elastic Heart by Sia. And as you can see, they took a huge risk with this dance. They talked about it having this harness with the rope and using it as a prop. This dance really showcased Jordan's athleticism, her abilities as a gymnast. But there was a lot of tricks. Loved that jump there. Didn't feel like there was enough dancing, in my personal opinion. Something was a little bit off with this dance. I think a lot of people felt it. And I think that was simply because they felt a little bit disconnected. I personally felt it looks like Ezra is struggling to lift her just a little bit. And I think it's because he's trying to lift her with this harness. I love that ending shot there. That was great. The harness, I think it was just a little too much. I maybe would have liked if they had, had it in the beginning and then just maybe done some of those tricks in the beginning and then just kind of focused more on the dancing. But I felt like they really leaned into showing off her athleticism. And I felt like Ezra was struggling to lift her a little bit. So I don't know. It wasn't my favorite dance. Few too many tricks. However, I will say that I did like that they took the risk with the prop. And I liked the storytelling. It was kind of, I think he said that he was trying to be like her inner demons. So I don't know. What did you think?
I agree. I mean, I think I loved the dance. I think I'm a big fan of this couple right here. I think they're an amazing pairing. I think they work very well together.
Agreed.
And I think we're seeing that Jordan is an amazing dancer. We're seeing her improve every single week. And I feel like them adding this prop and really kind of taking a risk took away from her as a dancer. I think they could have just kept going with what they know, kept going with the dancing. Kind of like you said. I wrote down too, I did not see a lot of dancing. I don't really get why there wasn't a ton of dancing. I think they focused more on the story versus the dance itself, which pros and cons to it. But I think the dancing was working for her. She kept building on her momentum. I think stick with what's working and do that this time. I agree. I like your take on the prop. Use it at the beginning. It was super cool how they used it and like incorporated it, especially with the whole elastic heart, you know, kind of analogy there, but do a little thing at the beginning, get rid of it, focus on the dancing, because you did the creativity and then just dance because it was working for Jordan. Why change it? But I did love the dance. If I had to pick a dance, that was standing out, that would be one of the dances that stood out to me for sure. And like I said, I think they're just improving week by week by week, and I think they just need to keep building off that. And they took a risk. It semi-worked in my opinion. It was fine. In a week that was mid, it was fine. I just think it was a midweek and that was a mid dance.
So,
I don't know.
Yeah, I completely agree. They did a rumba last week and Jordan really stood out because people realize that she's working so hard. She's working on the technique. She's working to get those moves down. And like you said, kind of took the momentum away this week, having her show a little bit more of her athleticism. But we know that she's athletic. We know that she can do aerials and cartwheels and lifts. And, we know that she's flexible as a gymnast. And so her being able to prove that she's also a dancer is really what sets her out in this competition. I just did not see as much of that. We did not see as much of that in that dance. So I did think that this dance was underscored.
She got 9,
8, 9. I think it should have been all 9s. I think it was still a very solid dance, but Cheryl and Derek seemed to not be big fans of the choreography. Probably wanted more dancing, so I guess I can maybe understand it. I still felt like it was underscored though.
I think if Whitney's getting all 9s and a 10, then I think she should have absolutely got all 9s. So we'll have to see what happens, but Jordan stayed. Thank goodness. I'm ready to see what they do.
Still one of our favorites.
Ahead. Yes,
Love
absolutely
them.
One of the favorites. Okay, let's jump into our next dance of the night. This was Andy and Emma. Now, we have obviously been very critical of Andy. Andy was a spooky, he was a priest, kind of confused by the story. He was like a priest trying to kill people?
Yeah.
Or heal people? I don't know, whatever, not the point. But he was a priest, and he really had to let out his really serious side. I feel like in the past he's been so happy-go-lucky. And what, did he have the paso doble?
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, I like this dance. I liked it from Andy. I think the fog, we've talked about it in the newsroom this morning, the fog was a lot. It was a bit too much. Yeah, it just hid away from his footwork, so that's maybe why I liked it so much, because I couldn't really see his legs because they didn't move much. But I mean, he leaned into his strength, which is his personality and how he can just like draw a crowd in, and it worked for me. I still think that Andy didn't go home, you guys. Spoiler alert. I still think he should have gone home.
Agreed.
I think he should have gone home week 2.
Yeah.
But if he's still here at this point, I'm going to lean into it because, by golly, he's going to be around for a while.
He is, and I still think that he is the sweetest guy.
Yes.
I know he's working hard, and I'm happy for him in the sense that, you know, he has worked hard and the people love him, and he's kind of built this image. I know he's really like stepped up his social media game being on the show, so he's really leaned into it, but it just was boring to me. I just was not a big fan of the dance. I think that Emma is amazing. She's a great choreographer. Kind of like some of the other pairings that we've talked about. I look at her the whole time. I don't find him interesting. My eye is not drawn to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't move a whole lot. And I hate to be overly critical of Andy, but I feel like I'm a Dancing with the Stars fan that really, I like the connections that I make to the celebrities, but I really am looking at the dancing. And I don't get a lot of dancing out of Andy.
Yep.
I know that some of our other colleagues and even other fans of the show have said that he's captured people's hearts and he represents what the show is all about with improvement. And so I can see that, but I've said this for like 3 weeks now. I don't think that Andy is like drastically improving every single week like some of the other couples are.
No, I think it's bit by bit. I do think I see improvements. I think
like
it's
little
just,
bits.
I think the little bits though is that he's just more comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think he's like, you know, his ego's building up a little bit because he's getting all these fan votes.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of like,
knows who he is.
I'm the man, which good for him. I guess if you're getting all the fan votes, lean into it. But I agree with you. It's just not a lot of dancing, not doing much for me. But if I'm just going to lean into the fact that this man is going to be low-key in the finale. I mean, maybe semifinals. I don't know.
Yeah.
My gosh, people, if we take him to the finale,
what are we
something's wrong with
doing?
this
What are
show.
we
We
doing?
need to-
Yes. He's also consistently been on the bottom of the leaderboard. And so it's clearly the fan votes that are propelling him forward, which that's great. Everybody's entitled to their votes, but why are we continuing to keep somebody who's at the bottom of the leaderboard?
And he got 7s. He got all 7s. And you're telling me you're going to give
Hasn't gotten a
Jordan
single
2
8
8s?
all season.
You're giving Jordan 2 8s. He's only 1 point lower. That's not right.
No.
No, it should not be all 7s.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
whatever. Not much more to say. We'll have to see how we feel next week. I think, so next week's rock and roll night, I think he's going to rock it out. I mean, I think
totally.
He'll do well,
He'll have
but
fun.
He won't move a lot. So, you know.
I know he'll have a good time with it. Maybe we could see some like crazy drastic improvement with Andy, but I just don't think it's coming. And I still would like to see him go home next week.
Yep.
Because he did not this week.
We're pretty clear on that.
Yeah. You're great though, Andy.
Yes.
Just nothing against you. It's just who we like this season. So let's move on to, well, we got a little bit of a shakeup here that we need to acknowledge. So if you did not watch last night's show, Elaine Hendricks and her partner Allan, Elaine suffered an injury this week during rehearsals and therefore did not perform during the evening. She did not perform in the actual show. They kind of explained the rules. Elaine was in the hospital, and so the rules state that the judges would judge based off of her last final rehearsal. So that's what we saw. That's what the viewers saw, is this video right here. So obviously you can tell they're not in full costume. It's not the full production. But I still thought the dance was great. We just couldn't get the full sense of it because, again, it's not the full production. This is, you know, probably them doing their camera blocking. Love that move right there. I know that if they would have done this dance full stop, it would have been incredible, but that's just not, I think it looks like she wasn't giving full effort to me because, again, this is not she's probably saving it a little bit for the actual show. So still loved the dance. There were some parts of it that weren't perfectly clean. Loved that final lift there. But it's just hard because, you know, we weren't seeing the full dance. So the judges, I think, clearly want her to stay. Cheryl talked about how they have been underrated this entire season. They have been
100%.
underscored. I completely agree with that. Their Wicked Night dance was my favorite dance, so I love them. I know we're both big fans of Elaine. I really hope that, it sounds like she's made a full recovery. She had like some kind of issue with her rib, so it sounds like she got some treatment and she's doing better. Loved how supportive Allan was for her the entire night. He looked so sad
He looked so
to have to be
heartbroken.
there, but I'm so, because they were in the bottom 3, which kind of makes sense. But I went onto my app, I gave them 10 votes, or online, I gave them 10 votes. I wanted them to stay, and I'm so glad that they did not get sent home, because Elaine deserves another week to prove and show what she's made of.
Absolutely. I think everybody did what you did. Got on your phone, gave her 10 votes, because that is so not fair. No matter who this was, I think anybody would vote for them, because that stinks to have to deal with an injury, and it was on show day. And to have to be scored off of your practice round, I mean, I guess, you know, you give 100% in practice, but yeah, clear disadvantage. You don't have the costumes, you don't have the props. And just seeing it there though, like, oh my gosh, that would have been such an amazing dance, because what a great song. What the choreography was great from what we saw. I think that would have been such a cool style for her, just to get that serious style and keep building on that intensity, because she had such a great week last week, and to have that momentum going into this week was so crucial for her. And I would have loved to see her just continue to capitalize on that and just build off of it. So I'm bummed. I would love to see her like make to the finale.
Me too.
And then be able to do that dance as her redemption dance.
Totally. That, oh my gosh, I haven't even thought about that.
How amazing would that be?
That would be a great idea.
But I'm really sad, because I think that would have been my favorite dance of the night if I would have, you know, seen it, because I'm biased. I love her. But I'm glad she's doing better, and I'm glad she stayed, because she deserves to stay. You're right. Allan looked so sad up there alone. That broke my heart. But we kept him, and that's all that matters.
Thank goodness.
And the judges gave her what, all 8s? I think
all 8s, which that makes
fair.
sense.
Honestly, great scores.
To all things considered. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I was happy with that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Okay. So since we don't have much more to say on that, since she was unfortunately hurt, let's move on to the next dance of the night. That would be Danielle and Pasha. Now, Danielle went into this with an idea. She had a story that she wanted to tell, and it was a story of, you know, them being married, and then it turns out that she's a ghost the whole time, and then Pasha kills her. And so we went into this knowing the storyline. I personally love this dance. I actually think she flowed across the floor really well. I love the storytelling. I feel like this was a perfect epitome of what Halloween night is on Dancing with Stars. I think the combination of storytelling and dancing was told very well. You know, I think is just very middle of the pack with her dancing. So I don't think her dancing, you know, did a whole lot, but I think the storyline and the choreography and just the whole package deal did enough for me on once again, a very midnight. I think this dance did enough for me to make it stand out. I love that she was determined and she gave it her all, and I was impressed with it compared to, you know, if we're comparing to all the other dances, that one I was very impressed with.
Yeah, I agree. I loved seeing her be a bit more confident. I think that sometimes with Danielle, she tries to appear confident, but she appears stiff. I did not see that tonight. She does really well with the Viennese waltz. I feel like they have done another one in earlier in the season, and she's very graceful when she's able to do some of these more, these more fluid dances rather than like the stiff. She did an Argentine tango last week, very stiff, and it just appeared very robotic to me. So I loved seeing her be able to, also she's an actress, so it's great for her to be able to showcase some of that in the dances, because sometimes they don't have as much creative, you know, ability as they did last night. So that was great. And I thought their scores were pretty good too. But before getting into the scores, I did want to say that you might notice that she like pulled a part of her dress off, and it was kind of showing that he killed her and she was bleeding, and then he had blood on his hands, and throughout the dance as they continued to get back into hold, then she continued to have more blood on her dress, and I really liked that details. The production of it, the whole production 100%. Was great. And I remember thinking, because we have been pretty critical of Danielle, but I think that she takes criticism very well, so I like that about her, and I really liked seeing her kind of come into her own a little bit and be more confident in this dance. Because I've said before, I feel like she gives it kind of like 60% effort. I feel like she gave that her full effort.
Totally. And I think
love that.
She had an idea, she stuck with it, she ran with it, and I think it paid off in my opinion. I think the judges were a bit mixed. Their scores were
all 8s and a 9.
All 8s and a 9. I don't think that was very fair. I think it deserved maybe a few 9s, but they're hard on her, and I think, like you said, she takes it well, so good for her, and she did stay. So she has another week of dancing. I still think, though, her time's coming pretty soon.
Totally.
I think she'll go home before Andy at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe next week, honestly.
I know. I don't know if she has a fan base for sure, but this fan base that Andy has built, I don't know if she's going to be able to overcome that.
I don't know if anybody can overcome this at this
honestly.
rate. Gosh, I'm not voting for Andy, but somebody is.
Yeah.
So.
No kidding.
It's crazy, but good for Danielle and Pasha. I'm big fans of them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And I think they need to continue to raise the bar. I don't want her to, she had a good dance last night. She needs to continue that and not drop back down to that kind of like stiff, lacking energy in her dances that she's had in weeks past. So I'm excited to see what they do next week for Rock and Roll Night.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to one of the standout couples of the season, Robert and Whitney, dancing an Argentine tango to Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. I loved the like orchestral version of this song that they did, the instrumental version of the song. It had, he was very strong. He had great technique. The footwork was on point, something that the judges pointed out, and I also thought that as well, because I was really looking at his legs and his feet. Felt like I was being a very critical judge, looking at his legs and his feet. Now, per usual, I will say that while I do think this was a great dance from Robert, it was a lot of Whitney, a lot of a lot of tossing and turning Whitney around. Yes, loved that last part. And then he came back and when he came to the judges table, he had like blood all over. So love that. They had some sound effects in there too that were really cool. So I thought it was strong. I thought it was powerful. It was one of the best dances of the night, in my opinion, but wasn't my favorite dance of theirs. I think that he did a great job. We've said it week after week. I just like seeing him serious. I can't like resonate with as much. I like when he gets to show his fun, goofy side. So his more serious dances just don't stand out as much to me.
Yeah.
But they're still doing great. Still love them. And it was a solid dance.
And this is why I feel like it was such a midweek, is because I feel like people like Robert and Whitney, they should have really been capitalizing on this week with that creativity, being able to do the Halloween night, have some more creative freedom. And I just feel like for all these dances, we're like, it was fine. Yeah. Compared to their dances that we've seen all season, I mean, it's just, this is nothing compared to the dances we've seen in the season. Yeah. So that's why I'm just a little bit disappointed with Halloween week. With their dance specifically this week, I agree. I like the orchestra. I thought that was a really cool aspect to it.
Right.
But I think going into the dance, it was very much stressed. He needs to be the leader. He needs to lead Whitney. And I don't know what the judges saw, because that is not what I saw. The judges said that he was the leading man. I completely disagree. My eyes only went to Whitney the whole time.
I agree.
Not that he didn't do great, but if I'm being honest, I was watching Whitney the entire time.
Same.
Every time I've watched it back, I'm watching Whitney. And that's where I'm just like, I don't think this style's for him. I think when he's side by side, when he's on his own, he absolutely shines. And I think that is what has worked for him in the past. But when they got in this hold, I didn't like it. I mean,
agreed.
I liked it. Okay, I feel bad saying I didn't like it. But again, like we said with Whitney and Mark, there's a very high standard for Robert and Whitney. Gosh, these Whitneys are confusing me.
They are.
There's a very high standard for them, and they need to keep living up to that. And this week, they just didn't live up to it. But I think that orchestra, the story, I said that weird, the orchestra, the story, I feel like that had so much potential.
Totally.
I don't know if it was the dark lights. I don't know what it was.
Something.
I just was like, it was fine. I don't know what more to say.
Right.
So,
it just doesn't jump out at
you. And what was he scored? He was scored, he got 2 10s.
Yeah.
2 10s and 2 9s.
2 10s. I know. The judges love him too.
I don't know, because I was just so focused on Whitney. That's where I'm like, it might have been perfect on his
I think
end.
they were impressed with his footwork, impressed with his technique.
So, I mean, maybe 2 10s is fair. Compared to the other dances, it was great.
Right, but moving forward, when they do those dances and hold, I do agree he needs to really lead Whitney out there. She's such a strong dancer, too, that I think is hard sometimes. Sometimes I feel like the pros need to, like, almost dance down a little bit so that the pros can so that the celebrities can really shine through. But
and he's just a young little cute boy. Like, he's a cutie. Like, you gotta, and he's, like, trying to be like a man. And I'm like, I don't know.
I know. It's better when we can see his goofy, fun personality.
Totally.
Yep.
So good for him, but not much else to say.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to the next dance of the night. This was Jen and Jan. Now they danced to Taylor Swift, Look What You Made Me Do. I don't really get the story of this. I just maybe can't remember it right now. I don't know, Megan, maybe you could chime in on the story. But basically they did Taylor Swift because Jan was Taylor Swift's backup dancer. So it was kind of more for Jan. And spoiler alert, Jen did go home. I loved her intensity. I think she did her best. I didn't like all the lifts and these tricks. I think, again, we've said this all season. Jan loves to do those weird lifts and those spins and grabbing her, and I think it just slows down the entire dance. And I feel like what we see from her in moments where they're just having fun and she's just having fun dancing, I think she shines so much more. Whereas I feel like in these moments when she takes it so seriously, I think that's a little bit of her weakness, is she's taking it just too seriously and overthinking it.
Yeah.
And I think that's shown week by week in her dances. I think that she did a great job. She did a great season, but we've always said it's just middle of the pack. Something's not doing it for us. I didn't get the story. I didn't get the choreography. I think it slowed down at weird times. It just didn't do it for me, and I think that's why she went home.
Yeah, agreed. And I really do feel for Jen in some ways. I think that it's hard being the other member of the same show, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, when Whitney is so good. So I think that was a disadvantage to her. She had Jan as a pro who has been criticized all season long for not being, a strong enough partner, not knowing the technique, just not being the pro that the show needs.
Yep.
And so I think she had a lot of things working against her this season. The judges were so incredibly hard on her week after week. I feel like whether it was like with the dance that she did with her mom or they even compliment Jan, I don't really feel like she ever was really uplifted very much by the judges. I feel like she was just kind of always put down, and I think that started to weigh on her week after week after week. And I don't think that she was having very much fun, honestly, towards the end. I think that the fun got sucked out of her. The life got sucked out of her and I'm sure that she was also kind of feeding into some of the comments on social media about her and about Jan, about the partnership. So I think there were just a lot of things working against them. But I actually thought that was probably her best dance of the season, maybe one of the best dances of the season.
Just none of them stand out to me. So, I mean, I guess because that's the most recent one that I can think of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean, I have a lot of respect for her. She has 3 kids. She worked very hard this season.
Just had a baby.
I think she's great. And unfortunately, I just think that the judges bullied her a little, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that out of all the contestants, the judges were hardest on her.
I think that she was never given the tools all season to even be
really
a potential
succeed.
to win.
Yeah, totally.
I just think that her partner, she had a brand new pro, which is always a little bit of a disadvantage. No hate to Jan, because he did get his flowers last night. Derek was like, you've been doing great. So I guess if Derek says so, then I'll agree with Derek. But I think she had a new pro. The judges, you were right, they're very hard on her. They were always knocking her down. She could never have a, wow, Jen, that was
great.
A breakthrough moment. That was amazing. There was always a but in every single comment that she got from the judges. And I think it just beat her down week after week after week, because she's seen these other people who, like Danielle, I look at those two very similar, Danielle and Jen. And I feel like Danielle was very much getting her flowers and her breakthrough moment. And I personally think they were on a very similar level. I don't see why Danielle stood out so much more than Jen.
Yeah.
Whereas Jen was just always getting that but.
Right.
And that, do this, do that. And she was trying so hard.
She was. I don't think
you
she had
could
the
tell
best
she was
coach.
defeated. And I think, like I said this in her package and before that dance, she just seemed kind of bratty, which is probably not nice to say, because I think she probably is going through a lot right now, which is heartbreaking. And I wish the best for her, and I'm really sad for her because I do think she had so much more potential for the show. I mean, she went into it as a fan favorite.
But her time was coming at the same time. I mean, her time was coming. I don't think she was going to make it to the finale.
No.
So I think that they did a great job. Great job, Jen and Jan.
Yes.
You guys did a great job this season.
Honestly, a really good season. We should, give both of them their credit considering what they were dealt.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if Jan returns. I really like him as a person, and I think he's a great dancer. I just don't know if he has the technique down enough and if he's a strong enough coach to be able to be a pro on Dancing with the Stars.
I could see him going to Troop for a season, maybe developing on Troop
and downgraded a little.
and then maybe going back up. But we'll have to see what happens. Their scores, all 8s, which, again, they got better than Andy got, so I don't know. But 8s, I think, was fair. I think that was actually pretty generous of the judges considering how hard they've been on her. So.
Agreed. Yeah. Let's move on to next dance. Alex and Val. It's no secret, Alex and Val are my favorites, but I'm still very critical of them. So Alex was really challenged with this dance, and Val is a very tough teacher. He's very hard on every single contestant that he has every single season. So the whole theme with this was like that Val was giving her tough love. But this dance, I loved it. It was fast, it was intense, it was sharp. I thought that Alex really nailed the moves, like that dip there, and it was just loaded with choreography. I mean, they were never not moving. it was just very fast. And so I loved that. Great footwork as well. I think that she has proven herself to be such a competitor, and you can tell that she's in this to win this. I think Alex works really hard week after week. I liked that little ending bit too. They were, and I loved the song choice as well. But Cheryl, guest judge last night, did say that she broke hold, and I think that was just like she had one little mistake. She broke hold at one point in the dance. She did get dinged for that a little bit, but other than that, I really couldn't find much else wrong with that dance. I think that they did. I think that she did amazing, and I'm just a really big fan of Alex. I think that she really embodies to me what the show is all about, because she came in with no dance experience. I mean, very little dance experience besides maybe doing a couple of TikTok dances.
Right.
And I think that she's grown into a really good dancer. No matter what style has been thrown at her, I'm consistently impressed.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. I think that dance was like another really good epitome of Halloween night. It was spooky, it was creepy, it still had really good dance technique. I think they still danced while also telling a story and being creepy with it. I loved watching it. I was engaged the whole time, start to finish. I think Val was tough on her, and I think it paid off in the long run. I mean, I think that they are just really starting to continue. I mean, she's had her breakthrough moments, and I wouldn't say that was like her breakthrough dance. She's had better dances, but I think they're really setting themselves apart from the group in terms of consistency.
I see a lot of people saying that they think Alex and Val are going to be the Mirror Ball champions,
and
I'm a huge fan of Val. Val is probably my favorite male pro of ever on the show.
He's awesome.
And so I think that I think he's a great coach, and he really pushes who he is with. And so I think that is working in Alex's favor, because she's getting good, hard choreography. And sometimes
she's executing well.
Yes.
It's not, backfiring on them.
Right. So Alex and Val also they almost had a perfect score. It was the highest scoring dance of the night. 3 10s, 1 9. Cheryl, because she's a stickler about technique, she and like the style of the dance, she's kind of like a rule follower. She didn't like that they broke hold, but I guess I can understand that. It wasn't perfect. I dinged Whitney for not being perfect too. So okay, I don't know. Couldn't really catch exactly where that mistake was, but I guess I can understand it. But I was really happy to see them get their first 10s. I think that was well deserved.
And I think I appreciate Cheryl, right? I almost called her Sharna. I get them confused.
Yes.
I actually appreciate Cheryl only giving her a 9, because I don't think that is the first dance of the season that deserved a perfect score, right? Because there hasn't been a perfect score yet.
No, not yet.
So I don't think that dance deserved a perfect score. Not that it wasn't amazing. I think that 10s were deserving, but not all 10s. So I think it was fair. I think it was awesome, and I'm happy with how that turned out. Very good for them.
Agreed, totally. And great dance from them. Like you said, though, not my favorite of theirs, but still a very solid dance.
Amazing. Yes. Okay.
Last couple.
Let's move into the last couple of the night. It was Dylan and Daniela. Now, Daniela is kind of known for her Halloween night choreography. This was actually pretty unique. She started out blindfolded. I thought that was really cool. They were flowing across the floor. I don't know what Vietnamese waltz, I think, is what they had. They kind of wanted to do an ode to, apparently Dylan really likes romantic fantasy books. I thought that was kind of weird. What is his hold? I'm sorry. He is so stiff. He's so stiff. He needs to, bring his butt in and like be more firm and straight up. I mean, he looks like a lump. I don't know what he's doing. Sorry, that was really mean. But I don't like it. I don't think he moved well. I think for Daniela and like what she deserves and her Halloween choreography, I think that actually was a very well choreographed dance, and I think it was a very cool dance. I actually really liked it.
He just wasn't selling the choreography.
He wasn't selling it. He wasn't good. I didn't like it at all. I mean, sorry, back to being critical, you Dylan. I don't think he's the worst dancer on there.
No, definitely not.
I don't think he's worse. I don't want to see him go home, but I just don't think it was good. I think he's been wildly favored and overscored all season.
Yeah, I read it as, I think that when he's dancing a style that he is not as confident in, or maybe that it's the choreography, where he's in hold and he's really focusing on the footwork and the technique, I think that he gets very stiff. And he lifts up his shoulders and he kind of tenses back, and he
pokes his butt out.
He pokes his butt out, and it doesn't look good. It stands out to people like us who have been watching the show for a long time. But people still love him. He did break his nose in rehearsal. That was something they talked about.
Part.
And so I don't know if he was kind of holding back or like a little stiff because of that, because there were some moves in there where he said he was worried about getting knocked in the face. I don't know if that was it, but one of the judges, I think it was Cheryl, said that they were the most improved couple of the season.
No,
I completely disagree with that.
I'd put Andy above him for the most improved couple of the season. That was no,
yeah,
not at
I
all.
completely agree with, or I completely disagree with that. I did not think that was the case. And I think Bruno was talking about him being like so hot, you know, and like there's more to this show and there's more to dancing than just like being hot. Yeah, like that's not I think what we should be judging.
Right. I also think for someone who loves to move his hips like Dylan does, I mean, he was stiff
You
as
were
a board.
stiff as a board,
So
absolutely.
I just don't see where we thought this was like such an amazing dance.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see. I did like how they used the whole floor. I think they like used the floor very well.
The movement was good.
Again, going back to
it was
choreography.
just how stiff he was with the movement.
Yeah, it was just mid. What'd they get? 9, 9, 8, 9. Fair. Actually, I do actually kind of agree with those scores. I would have liked to see one more 8.
I was going to say, I was going to give it one more 8.
But I'm happy they didn't get a 10.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That dance would have gotten a 10. I would have rioted.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think this goes back to why Halloween night was just kind of mid, because Daniela, they saved the best for last. When I knew she was going last at the beginning of the show, I was like,
okay.
She's going to have a great dance. It's going to be jaw-dropping because she's so good at that and so known for that. And it just wasn't a good dance to end on. I'm like, why? I wish we had ended on Alex and Val. But
technically, that wasn't the end because we have to talk about how the night did end.
Okay, yes.
But that was the end of the regular dances.
Yes.
And then,
and should we
I
talk
didn't even know this was happening. But what do you want to talk about?
Should we talk about Dylan and his sexiest man alive tattoos that he got? Where did this come from? I don't know why we're announcing these awards.
Extra time on their hands with the show because of Elaine being out. And so they decided, I guess the People's Choice Awards came out, or People Magazine Awards came out, the sexiest man alive. And they do other awards. So Dylan won the sexiest tattoos.
And I didn't need to see the pictures.
Yeah, some very weird pictures.
Made it,
even he looked uncomfortable. I mean, yeah, congrats, Dylan.
Just like, whoa. And then Derek got sexiest man alive for 40-year-olds.
Sexiest 40-year-old.
Something like that. And then said he was going to shave his head. That was a weird segment.
Yeah, also weird.
For people, if you're new to Dancing with the Stars, that was weird. They don't normally do that.
That was not normal. I definitely could have done away with that, but maybe they were trying something new. I think they were trying to get clicks on social media too, honestly.
Yes, but talk about the Danceathon or whatever it was called.
So I had no idea this was even happening, but at the end of the night, all of the couples basically did if you've seen Grease before, it's kind of like the scene in Grease at the prom where they do it's like a dance. It's almost kind of like a classic ballroom competition where all the couples are on the dance floor and they're all dancing and there's one song playing. They're all doing like different styles. And then basically the best couples kind of stay on through the end and then they tap certain couples. And so it's like an elimination until you're down to the final 2. And then the judges pick one to win. It was just a chaotic mess to me. It was just like the camera work was so chaotic. I don't like the concept. I
couldn't watch anybody at once.
I like better when they do when they pair 2 couples, like they put 2 couples against each other and they do like a dance off with the same song. I like that concept way better. I did not like this where every couple was confined to this little square and they were all dancing at the same time. It was just very chaotic to me. In the end,
Whitney and Mark won, which, I mean, they were great. I wish Alex and Val won. It came down to Alex and Val and Whitney and Mark.
Yeah.
I think the judges were pressed on time and just picked one. Yes. Meeny, miny, mo. And they got 5 extra points of their score, which I think really helped them.
But Alex and Val did still end up on the top of the leaderboard,
because they got 4 extra points.
Because they got 4 extra points,
yeah.
right.
So I mean, the Danceathon was just kind of weird. It was fine. Weird. I mean, they're just trying to fill time.
It was like fun in a way, but it was just very chaotic, and I just didn't love it.
They've done more creative things, and I think next week is going to be good because they're doing the team dances again, which is very exciting because Alfonso and Julianne are going to be on teams. So that'll be really fun to look forward to. But before we get to that, we got to talk about our top 3 dances from the night.
Yep, to close things off. And also, we obviously talked about this, but Jen and Dion got eliminated. So sad for them. But top 3, I think we both agree that Alex and Val was our favorite dance of the night. Yes, that was both our favorite dances. I think that in terms of really embracing the Halloween night spirit, I think that's what Alex and Val did with this dance. And we said it, but not a lot of the other dances were standouts. This one stood out to me. And it wasn't 100% perfect, but it was pretty dang close. I thought it was really, really good. And I love the costumes too. Love the costumes, love the makeup. Not too much smoke. Some effects, not too much.
They're just some front runners. I mean, it's hard not to pick them as a favorite every week. But they did amazing.
Yep. And who would be your second pick?
I think our second pick, what did we say? Robert and Whitney, was that it, I believe? Yeah, so Robert and Whitney, which I think they've come up next. Yeah, I like the orchestra. I think Whitney always has amazing choreography. I know I was a little bit critical of it, but I think at the end of the day, it was a tough week to pick top 3. And not the only one that really stood out was Alex and Val. But if I had to pick a close second, I mean, sure, I'll go with Robert and Whitney. I think, you know, it was a fun dance. It was cool. It was unique. It was something different. So that was really cool. I don't know. You liked that too, Megan, as your second one?
I did. Yes, that was my second one as well. Good footwork, good technique.
Yep.
Just still continue to be impressed by them. I just want a little more.
A little bit more. We know what you could do, Robert.
Yes.
Now, my third and final favorite dance of the night was kind of a curveball here, but Danielle and Pasha. I think the storytelling really encapsulated, like I said earlier, it really encapsulated Halloween night. I think that she actually looked beautiful. I think for her and her capabilities, I think she really shined in this moment, and her acting, I mean, good for Pasha with his choreography. Again, I think that it just really encapsulated Halloween night. Between dancing was clean, the dancing was pretty, and the storytelling was awesome, and it was fun, and it was unique. You don't often see Halloween dances that are smooth like this with this song and like crime and spooky. They still made it spooky. Normally it's like the dun 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 dances. So I don't know. I had to give them their flowers this week. And again, it was just a tough week to pick a top 3. Nobody really stood out, but those were the first thing that popped into my mind.
Yeah, I completely agree. I still love Danielle. I don't think that she's like top 5, but still love her. And that was a great dance. We've been critical of some of her dances. That was one of her better dances for sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
that's week 7.
That's it.
It's week 7.
Yes, we're sad to see Jen and Jan go. Andy Richter lives to see another week.
Lives to see another week. Who knows what he'll bring next week? But next week's rock and roll night, so that'll be a fun one. I bet there'll be a lot of good hits. I think we're gonna have a lot more. I think we're gonna have some standout dances next week.
I also, just a quick note before we go, I have to give props to. Oh my gosh, this is a pun. I have to give props to the props and the costume department. I was reading some behind the scenes about all the work, and they have a team, like a pretty big team, but they create all these costumes pretty much unique for every single couple, every single week, and I think they nail it every single time. There are of course some that I don't love, but they create such like a costume that I feel like just fits every dance so well. And I love all the costumes. I think that they nail it. And the hair and makeup department always is so good too. But that's one of my favorite things that I look for every week is like, who's got the best costumes? And I love the costumes this week.
They always give Alex and Val the best.
Yes.
So that's all I have to say. That's my pro tip. They give them always the best, but you know, there's no bias there. Oh gosh, but a fun week, Halloween week. A little bit disappointed overall, but still nonetheless, this competition is stacked, so you can never get too disappointed.
And as always, reach out to us on social media. Let us know your thoughts. You can, wherever you're watching this, we appreciate you watching, whether it's YouTube, we're Iowa Plus. We appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you back here next Wednesday for week 8, rock and roll night of Dancing with the Stars.